everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Boston Sports Nuts. This is the show that is sweeping the country, guys.
Like a broom.
And other countries, too, as I've been told. Every state from here to California. You got to get on board, click on something, like something, subscribe to something. Anyway, I'm Ken Berman, joined by Paul Izzo and Jim Russo. Hi, guys. How we doing?
Doing great. Let's go.
Little sports talk, right?
Sure.
I did hear a little Who talk before we started, but we'll put that aside for now. Because what wrap-up tour is this one for them?
I went to a Who farewell tour in the 80s.
82.
At RFK Stadium.
82 was
In
the
82.
first farewell tour.
And then we went one.
About 7 years ago to the Boston Garden, TD Garden.
But they're having another one.
They're on farewell.
Fenway.
Well, they got
They'll be at Fenway.
They'll be Fenway Park. Speaking of Fenway Park, can we talk about our Boston Red Sox?
Do we have to?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
Because this is Boston Sports Nuts. So I want to get into the Boston Red Sox, which is driving me absolutely crazy because they stink again. And you can't watch them. And there's only a couple of players that somewhat excite you, but it just seems like they're going down a bad path again with so many problems with pitching and hitting and their style. And they're like 8.5 or 9 games out of first all of a sudden. And it's just looking, like really like. And what bothers me the most is that the summer is so much better when they're good.
Yeah. That I agree with.
But Paul, Jim, why are they going down this?
What's going on, Jim? You lead off.
You want me to lead off? All right.
Yeah.
I think the franchise is a mess. Absolute, complete mess right now. And let me just try to give you the lowlights, okay?
Nothing I like better than
the shortstop.
Their highlights.
The starting shortstop is making whatever amount, millions of dollars. He's 14 for his last 119. He's still playing.
Is that bad?
Okay. Now, to
I
quote
think it is.
one of the great youth sport coaches that I ever came, I'm sure he's a great guy. He probably takes out his mother's garbage, but he can't hit. Shouldn't be playing. The center fielder was given a contract.
Can you give us names?
Trevor Story.
Trevor Story.
Cedane Raffaello was given a lot of money to buy out his arbitration years and his, and still is Jackie Bradley too.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a tremendous fielder who can't hit, who still has problems with pitch selection, and apparently ignores take signs, if we believe some of the media. Okay. Further evidence, we can actually add Bayo to that, who has not been what they thought he was when they bought out his arbitration years, but he's the least problem to me. They start one of their big 3 prospects at second base, Christian Campbell, okay? He gets off to a phenomenal start, and they pay him, okay? They buy out his years. The first baseman gets hurt, okay? He gets hurt.
Tristan Casas.
And they really have no backup. So now this rookie, instead of spending his time working on the fact that he's in his first slump, is apparently, and we have film, I guess, or pictures, is being worked out at first base. Now, he also played center field during some of these treads. Now, we have 2 other prospects. Marcelo Meyer, who is a shortstop, who, when Casas went down, was moved to second base and played some games in second base and apparently did okay. Well, Alex Bregman, who, to be fair, was given a lot of money and was having a very good season, is now going to be out with an injury that he's had before, and I think the last time he missed 58 games. So what do? They take the guy who's a natural shortstop, who's been training at second base, they bring him up and they put him at third. Okay? Worcester has a doubleheader. Boston has a doubleheader on the same day. They call him into the office. They post the conversation on social media where they tell him you're not playing in Game 2 or Game 1 because you're going to go to Boston. He's rushed to Boston where he strikes out 3 times. Okay? Now he's hit .335. God forbid we move him to shortstop to take the place of the guy who's gone 14 for his last 119. Now to top this off.
Which is bad.
Right. To top this off. There is a guy in the minor leagues named Roman Anthony who I checked last is hitting .320. The radio announcers 2 days ago, I heard, were begging for him to be called up in their understated fashion. Last night, O'Brien was questioning Alex Spear when. Spear kept going on and on about how he's doing extraordinary things. Now, a team that cannot score, cannot hit, cannot find a place for this guy. Move Durant to center. Put him in left. All these position changes, I get the feeling I'm watching a little league team where your best player plays short and pitches. Okay, I got to pitch John tonight, so I got to move Paul to short, Ken to third to take Paul's place where he usually plays. That's what this team's a mess. That's my take.
The Red Sox are an interesting case study in how statistics can be misleading. Because if I were to tell you that 60-odd games, 58 games or something like that, into the season, the Red Sox would be number 3 in the American League in OPS and have a team ERA right at the league average, I would have taken that.
Okay.
I would have said, okay, it looks like they're going to hit, that they're going to score runs, and they're going to pitch in Fenway Park good enough to compete. The problem is they are 6-15 in one-run games.
Yeah.
They don't know how to win. They don't get the ghost runner in extra innings. They give up leads late. Like last night, they had a 1-0 lead in Milwaukee, and they give it up in the 9th inning.
Walk-off grand slam.
I like to think that some of those things are random. Things like records in one-run games tend to be over time evened out. But there does seem to be a sense, and this is just because I agree with, I don't disagree with anything Jim said, but to me there are other problems. I don't see a leader on this team. The best player on the team can't even speak English. Okay? Now that's not to derogate his language skills, but you can't be a leader if you can't communicate with the rest of the players.
Right.
The whole Devers controversy has been a huge distraction. And Alex Cora does seem to me to be a guy that's just collecting a paycheck at this point. I don't see him having any answers to any of these problems.
None.
So I'm trying to hold on to a sliver of optimism by looking at the fact that they're still number 3 in the American League in runs scored, and that their pitching has been on and off decent. Crochet's had some good starts. But this inability to win close games, I don't know what that's about, but it's a problem. And you flip that, if they're 15-6 in one-run games, they're in first place.
Oh, yeah. But timely hitting is different than hitting in Major League, right? I mean, when you have chances late in games to get the timely hit and you never get it, you just don't win those close games. The thing about Anthony that I think, if they don't bring him up soon, it's obvious to me. They're not bringing him up because of the service time or whatever that is, 45 days in the majors, and then, that's considered a year or something like that.
Yeah.
And then that starts the 5-year process of and some people have reported they don't want to start that because they'll have to pay him in 5 years. Big money. Really? If that's true, then I don't know how to be a fan of something like that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's also, they don't want to acknowledge some of these financial mistakes they've made. Trevor Story, Raffaella. I agree with you about timely hitting. I'd add one thing. Who's coming up in these situations?
Oh, that's,
all right?
that's
I mean, they walked
on my
Devers
agenda.
the other night when it's 1st and 3rd. Okay, that tells you all you need to know. Who's coming up?
Navarez.
And the run scored thing has been a little. They got 20 runs in one game.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little skewed.
19.
And back to Devers for a minute. Look, I didn't like when he said he wanted to play third. Did I care? No, because I knew it would work out. I knew it. And
He's leading the American League in RBI.
yeah, he got off.
He's hitting
now,
the ball.
But here again is their entire management philosophy to me. Rafael Devers just told you can't play third. Now, he's got a predictable reaction. And then it goes away, and he has a slump at the beginning, probably because he didn't get many at-bats. And now he's leading the majors in RBIs. He's tearing the cover. So what do? They ask him to play first. Now, listen. Anybody that thinks first base is an easy position is kidding themselves.
Watch Moneyball.
Yeah.
Yes, watch Moneyball. And look what they did with Scott Hatterberg in Moneyball in real life. They gave him an entire spring training. You want Devers to play first. Give him a glove. First day of spring training, said you're going to learn. Secondly, he's killing the ball. Why do you want to interrupt his daily routine that he's established as a DH and make him take grounders at first?
They asked him to be the DH.
Right, and they asked him to DH. I mean,
So he said, okay, I guess I'll do
this
it.
is fly-by-night, again,
Yeah.
Little League stuff where Johnny's got to pitch tonight. I mean, it's like, come on.
By the way, if they were going to ask him anything, they'd say to him now, hey, we don't have a third baseman.
Yeah.
Play
if
there
he
your
was
whole
going
life.
to do anything, I wouldn't even do that.
But if anything, if they really needed him, because if they put him at third and then Anthony came up, then they might have a better
And
lineup.
I got another beef. This idea that because he makes $31 million, he should do this. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. I don't care what you pay a human being; they're still the same human being. Baseball players are predicated on routine. They come to the park. As Paul said, you made this guy get into this routine, and oh, by the way, it worked. Credit to the Red Sox for that.
Right.
Now you want to take him out of it? I
Right.
don't care what he makes. He's a person. Okay? It's going to affect him. I think it's affected Campbell a little bit.
By the way, it weakens the DH position.
Absolutely.
Right.
He's the best DH in the league.
Right.
So if you put him at first, you have to put someone at DH. So
Right.
it's not a magic solution. It's not like there are two Deverses, one that played DH, one that played first.
Right.
One of the things that's funny, Ken and I were talking about this yesterday, is very interesting to look back at Red Sox history and think about the marketing of this team. And they're struggling because I'm getting emails all the time asking me to
Right.
go back and get season tickets. Like
Right.
personalized emails from someone who must have my name on a list. Go after this guy, okay? They have always, Red Sox fans have always liked the young players. Remember how exciting it was? We go back to the early 70s, folks, when they had Ben Ogilvy and Cecil Cooper. And then we had Lynn and Rice. And then we had the 80s guys. We had Wade Boggs, Todd Benzinger, John Morzano. Then we had Mo Vaughn, Mike
Clemens.
Greenwell. Then we had Roger Clemens and Bruce Hurst. Red Sox fans love the young players. Bring them up and play them. We're not going to sign them as free agents down the road anyway. You don't do that anymore. You let Betts walk. You let Benintendi walk. You let them all walk. So bring them up while they're young and vibrant and exciting and play them.
And they're going to play hard because they're working towards that 5-year
They'll
contract.
sell tickets like hotcakes.
Speaking of
Come
their
see
marketing,
the kids.
you ever notice the commercials? You get it more than we do, but it's all about Fenway Park. City,
that's been going on for years.
City Connect uniforms.
Yeah.
Now the new City Connect uniforms.
Most beloved park.
Wally the Green Monster. Stop. You don't have any players to market.
By the way, I
They
think
have
I
one.
wrote. I think
give him one.
I think I texted you guys the other day about who's coming up because I was listening in the car and Duran walked and then they sort of walked. He stole second and then they sort of walked Devers because the next guy up was Navarez batting
He's
third.
been one of their best hitters.
But he was batting eighth a week before.
It's
and
a
he
short
And
sample.
he struck out, and then came Campbell, the rookie, who I thought was a punch and Judy hitter, not a big hitter, and he grounded
Don't
out.
have a big hitter.
Right. That's what I mean. That was their 3-4. Now, obviously, they lost Casas, who was supposed to be in that spot, and Bregman. There was only two guys they couldn't lose on this team, Bregman and Devers.
Right.
And they lost Bregman.
But how does an organization with a $200 million payroll, 70 or 80 interns, analytics guys,
Right.
a triple A team, a double A team, single A team, a second single A team, how do they not have a depth chart?
How do they not have a first baseman?
Right.
No, that's what I mean.
For so many years.
Casas went down. Next man up. Every other sport does that.
Yeah.
The Celtics lose a guy, and they go, huh. The Patriots lose a guy. I don't understand how an organization doesn't say, hey, knock on wood, if Casas gets hurt, what's our plan?
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Implement it.
We have a first baseman at double A. He's here immediately.
And we know he's not going to be as good. That's not the point. The point is you got somebody.
Or we have a guy that, is a 32-year-old guy who plays in the Atlanta Braves system, and we call them up the next day and say, send us him. We'll send you a prospect.
Can I-
How do you act like your chickens with their heads cut off,
they've
not
been-
knowing what you're
It's
going to
been
do?
going on for years now, for like 5 years.
They don't have a depth chart.
Right. I mean, a couple of questions that pop into my mind. Is Cora only here because they just signed him to this new contract? Would he be gone if he was like in the second
Alex
year?
Cora has developed a reputation of being a very good manager, a guy that knows how to get along with the players. He's bilingual. He's good with the media. I think the Red Sox are terrified at the thought of firing Alex Cora. I don't think he's here because of the money.
Would you
I
fire
really
him
don't.
now? I would. I think they've been a mess.
Well, I think it's a legitimate question to say, why are you losing all these close games? Do you have an idea? Do you have a solution? Are you motivating these guys properly? Do they understand situational baseball? Runners don't get moved over. They don't bunt the guy to third in the ghost inning. There's just a lot of things they don't do well. I don't know if that's his fault or not. Is that coming from upstairs? See, the problem nowadays
analytics
is you don't know who's really driving the bus.
Right. I think they don't fire him because, one, they love him. They really do. And, to be fair to him, if you watch the documentary on the 2024 Red Sox, he does a lot of things well. He is bilingual. He gets along with the players. And if management asked Alex Cora, I think he would say, do you see the lineups I'm running out there?
they've struggled.
What do you want me to do? I mean, Trevor Story doesn't know he's got to move a guy from second to third. He's trying. He's not good. He's not good. Now, does that mean maybe they need a jolt? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things managers often do, and we've seen this before, you put a guy on my roster, I'm going to play him. That's what they do is.
Yeah.
And if he's really underperforming and you're paying him a lot of money, that's on you. That's not on me. I mean, who's the obvious on his bench right now? What's the obvious move to take out Trevor Story? There really isn't one.
Marcelo Meyer.
No, the obvious move, and I don't even like it, is to move Rafaela to short and put Duran in center and Anthony in left. That's not.
Where's Meyer go?
He's got to stay at third, I guess, even though I don't want him to do that.
Where's Rico?
Rico Petrocelli. All right, what do we got next?
Well, last question of that. I'm in favor of this as well. Should they release Trevor Story? Designate for assignment. DFA him.
This is a little above my pay grade. If there's a physical issue, then he needs to go somewhere to rehab it. If it's not a physical issue, if he just can't hit anymore, that's a pretty big sample size. 118 at bats with 14 getting on base. That's like what? Way less than 150.
Oh, it's way less than 150.
Yeah, it's in the hundreds, right?
Okay, yeah 150. I'm thinking that it may be time to go in a different direction.
Okay.
By the way, that contract's been a disaster.
Since the beginning.
It's been a disaster.
Most of the time he didn't play because he was hurt.
The
when he
first
has
year
played,
that's it.
first year he played, and when he has played, he hasn't been that
By
good.
the way, he
second
didn't have a
base.
sensational first year.
No, he
He
played
had an
second
adequate
base.
first year.
Yeah. Okay, because I had so many.
Yeah, go.
Do you think they need to change their hitting and pitching? I don't know what to call it. Style, approach. They're all for launch angle and they're all for spin rate for pitches.
Hey, all right. Can I take this one because this is of great interest to me?
Paul's going to take this because it's of great interest. To
Okay.
me. And then Jim can take it.
Having been in the corporate world, and I have a wife in the corporate world, analytics have taken over everything. Okay?
Too much so.
Everything's about analytics. But in most cases, the reason we employ analytics is so that something will be better. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Improvement through analytics.
Continuous improvement. I am struggling to see how the emphasis on analytics in baseball has translated to better baseball. Now we didn't have the sophisticated scouting techniques that we have now in the old days, but we had Jim Rice and Fred Lynn. We didn't have the sophisticated pitching coach techniques in the 80s that we have today, but we had Roger Clemens, Nolan Ryan, Tom Seaver, and Greg Maddux. If analytics is not translating into better output and performance of the game itself, I can say without hesitation that analytics has hurt baseball. And how do we know that? Strikeouts are way up. There's an Instagram post going around. Maybe
saw that.
Maybe Evan
More
can post
strikeouts
it.
than hits, or
Strikeouts have caught up to hits and exceeded hits. You go to the ballpark, you don't see action, you don't see rallies, you don't see balls in the gap cut off and thrown to third. You're not watching baseball anymore. Jim has always said, I love the battle between pitcher and catcher, and I like that too. But that's not all I like.
No.
I want to see some double plays. I want to see some 5-run innings.
There's no action.
The famous inning that the Red Sox had in 1967, where they got 5 runs on 4 hits, 2 wild pitches, and an error. You never see that anymore because all those balls were put in play. There were no walks in that inning.
Right.
So I don't know.
Well, one thing about analytics.
I just don't get. I don't think it's been good for the game.
Analytics is really divided into 2 things. One is to rate players. I think
Agreed.
analytics has succeeded above and beyond in that degree. And the Red Sox, by the way, supposedly an analytic team. I think Duran is a great player. There's no way he should be leading off. Analytics says he should not lead off.
Correct.
No way. He doesn't walk. So his on-base percentage is not great. So it's not totally designed to improve a player. The design to improve a player is, Ted Williams versus Walt Hriniak. You swing with a slight uppercut or you bang the ball into the ground, and there's different ways. The Ted Williams launch angle thing is now prevailing, and it's prevailing in a time when pitchers are coming out in the first inning and throwing 97 miles an hour. That never happened. You want to talk about the strikeouts? That's one of the biggest reasons. There's 2 reasons. Pitchers throw 97 from inning 1, and hitters are trying for the home run too much. So I agree with that part. But I love the first part of analytics. It's people that use it are getting better results. I mean,
I'm not talking about the 80s analytics revolution when Bill James said, hey, why aren't we looking at
no, I know,
walks?
but you got to distinguish that.
You're right.
You have to distinguish that.
I'm not looking at that.
You're more looking at technique in a way. You're looking at...
But that's part of it, Jim.
Yeah,
that's
you can call it analytics, but it's like you're better off hitting the ball in the air than on the ground, and a strikeout doesn't matter as much as it matters equally with a fly ball. I disagree with that, and I think the Red Sox are Exhibit A,
Yeah.
the way they play defense. I disagree with that. I would rather see the ball put in play.
Absolutely.
And I know it's not Little League where an error happens more frequently. But
Errors
happen.
do happen.
They happen.
Well, if launch, this is my question for them, and maybe you can answer it, devil's advocate. If launch angle on the swing is so beneficial, then why haven't we seen skyrocketing home run totals? I mean, it's been years since the Red Sox had 2 guys that hit 40 home runs. I mean, we're not. My point is, at the end of the day, I'm talking about baseball.
Yeah. I know what
Baseball
you're saying.
as a sport. Other sports have tinkered with their rules and their analytics, and you can argue that it's made the sport better. Basketball, we argue about the 3-point shot, but it's very exciting. We argue about football. They've changed this rule, that rule. In baseball, I'm not seeing baseball better.
No, I agree. And
baseball
I think,
is less watchable
but
now
I think
than it
one
was
of
when
the
we were
reasons,
kids.
Paul,
I
is
agree with that.
There's been no counter-revolution. It's out there. It's waiting to happen, and no one's doing it. And as a perfect example, I think it was done by accident the other night. Last night, Chapman comes in, leadoff left-handed hitter. There's 2 strikes, and the Red Sox are in an allowable shift, which is they're not playing a traditional third baseman. They are keeping 2 guys on the left side of the infield. He hits a routine ground ball where Maya would have played. It's a double. It sets up the whole inning,
Oh, yeah, that was the game.
allows them to tie the game. That is the counter-revolution, and for some reason, analytics, whatever you want to call it, it's not happening. As far as the Red Sox, though, to answer your original question, you can either hit or you can't hit at the end of the day. They got guys that cannot hit. So I don't care whether they're launch angle, spray, whatever. Whatever works for them, do it. But they got guys that have big sample sizes where they can't hit. Even Casas, he had 1 good half a year.
Half a year.
I mean, you've got to have
Okay,
talent.
Mike,
I've said it 9 million times. The most important thing in any sport first is talent.
Well, the only thing I'll say to that before we move on is the Red Sox brought on, I believe, 9 people from this drive line thing this year, and their strikeouts have gone way up even compared to last year.
Well, I disagree with that then, what they're doing.
Right, same
Totally.
here. In pitching, they're really high on spin rate, and what I heard about Whitlock the other day on the radio was in his rookie year, he was primarily a 4-seam fastball pitcher, pounding the strike zone.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Now he barely throws fastballs or strikes. So I just think
Andrew Bailey, the pitching coach, has been the subject of some controversy. He has them throwing a lot of.
Yeah, I agree with the controversy, but I don't get the thing about 0-2 breaking balls. Everybody throws an 0-2 breaking ball, especially if they throw 2 fastballs.
Not if they hang them.
No, that's the problem.
Yeah, don't
but
throw a
that's my
hanging one.
point. It's talent.
This-
You throw 2
Yeah.
fastballs, breaking ball in the dirt.
All right, this is great. This was good. I like this, but we have a couple other things we got to get to. So,
We do.
Real quick.
But we could do a whole another show on the Red Sox and all that stuff. NBA playoffs going on right now. Great series between the Knicks and the Pacers.
Great series.
Games have been great. Comebacks, last second thingies, all that kind of stuff. The Pacers went up 3-1 on an absolutely unbelievable performance by Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, the most overrated player in the league,
Right.
according to his colleagues.
32, 12, 15, and 0 turnovers as the point guard. Jim?
4 steals, too.
And 4 steals.
Yeah, one of the best performances all around you're ever going to see. And just great. And that has been a good series. The Knicks have played pretty well. They pulled the Celtics and lost a 20-point lead. This would, you don't know what would happen, but it'd be 2-2.
Knicks are way better than everybody was giving them credit
The
for.
Knicks are a good team. I mean, it's just the Pacers are a real good team. I think we all predicted them to win, if I'm not mistaken.
But the Knicks had a better record during the season, which
Yeah,
only
but I
because
don't-
right
remember,
the
the
Pacers
Pacers
had a
got off
terrible
to a
start.
terrible
till
start.
right,
Terrible
and then
start.
they were like the best team in the league after that.
Yeah, and I think I want to give the Pacers a lot of credit for last night. Unlike the Celtics, okay, the 2, and it pains me to say this, the 2 games the Celtics lost by 20 points, it's like they didn't learn from what
Where they
they've
blew
done
20-point leads or
Yes,
lost by.
I'm sorry, lost
Okay.
20-point leads. They still have that annoying habit of when they get ahead, they slow the
Ball
pace
down,
down. In Game 3, the Pacers got up 20 and slowed the pace down
Yeah.
and lost. They made a conscious effort. And I want to, Reggie Miller, with 1:44 to go, the Pacers were up. They got the ball to Siakam. They had stolen and got a hit. And he says, maybe there's a little less. He says, they got to run some clock. And I'm like, no.
No, and didn't Siakam score?
I think he did. He got fouled.
Fouled,
He got fouled.
right, yeah.
No. You are who you are. Like Tommy said, only under a minute do you do that stuff. Siakam did the right thing, got fouled, and it goes back to Rick Pitino once in a huddle at Providence College. They had lost the lead. He goes, what's the matter? You guys don't want to win by 30?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to get 100 points? Mm-hmm. That's their style.
Right.
Stay with it. And
And by
good
the way,
for them.
I think it was Halliburton who pushed the ball to Siakam that
Yes.
got him in the
What
open.
I
Good
didn't
for them.
understand about that comment was, did you not just see the other games?
Correct.
Like,
Right,
teams are blowing 9-point leads with 40 seconds left.
right.
Yeah.
No, that was goofy. I got to pump the brakes a little bit on the NBA playoffs. There have been a lot of unwatchable games. There have been at least a dozen. I tried counting them last night, and I lost track. Games that were basically unwatchable. Where there was there'd been 40-point games and 35-point games and 28-point wins and 20 wins, and there have been some exciting comebacks, but keep in mind that those only happen because at some point in the game, the other team's ahead by 20-something points. There have been very few nip-and-tuck games in this postseason. Very few.
I think it's this series mainly, right?
Right. I'm not sure.
Well, Denver
The
and
Celtics had close games.
Nip-and-tuck?
Yeah.
Oh, which ones?
against Orlando, they had a couple.
They had a couple against Orlando.
Yeah.
I would say it's the majority, though. I get your point.
I would say that
There's been a lot of big blowouts.
I've watched a lot of
'Cause
NBA games.
Jim and I believe in the blowout theory of
yeah,
playoffs.
and I disagree
but
on your 20-point lead being blown is not exciting. First of all, following the NBA like we do, we have had to learn that is not a big lead in today's NBA. with the three-pointer. It's 6.5 shots or whatever. Second of all, as much as I criticize the Celtics for doing it, a lot of teams do it. And it is because the cliche is true. You talk about momentum all the time. It's true. You're big on that, and I think you're right, that it's true. It's a game of runs, and teams are getting off to these big runs, and then the other team's going to have their run. And when they go to coaches, they're warning their players about this all the time, but it doesn't seem to do any good.
Yeah.
The runs go on. So,
but
yeah, there have been some games, 40, like that, what was it, Minnesota? I had to turn it off.
OKC, Minnesota.
I had to turn it off.
Yeah, they were up like 45 points
Yeah.
at one point. And there's been some 35s late in the third quarter where you're just like,
If we're going to talk about this, very disappointing seventh game in OKC Denver.
right.
And a lot of that was Gordon playing on one leg.
And Porter was still hurt too.
And Porter could not make a three.
Right. But this series is good. Now, my question, I started thinking about this. The most overrated player in the league, Tyrese Haliburton.
Yeah.
If you were starting a team and they said you could pick one of these 2 point guards to start your team, would you pick Haliburton or Brunson?
I would pick Halliburton.
Yeah, without a doubt, Halliburton.
Same
Because
here.
I think it's the reason this overrated player made the Olympic team over Brunson. He's a better passer.
Way better.
He's a better passer, and he doesn't turn the ball over.
Right.
Okay, so I would pick Halliburton, and I think Brunson is phenomenal.
The thing about Brunson, I would wonder what he would be like on a team where his load was not so heavy. Because a lot of times at the end of the game, you literally see him just
Dribbles.
sweat is dripping off sweat.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is just overwhelmed with
Yeah.
what they require him to do, make every shot. You know, very few Knicks games that I've seen, you know, the Celtics break it up a little bit. One night, Tatum goes
Yeah.
off. One night, Brown goes off. During the regular season, KP goes off. Holiday has a big night. The Knicks, I don't really see that as
It's either
much.
him or Towns, basically. They
yeah,
have
and
big
the others,
scoring
the others
nights.
chip in. But,
Yeah.
no, Brunson has a heavy load. Paul's right. I mean,
But
he has a
I
very heavy
listen,
load.
I'm a Halliburton fan too, and I think he's such a good lead point guard because of his passing ability, and he's very good at pushing the pace.
And at the end of the games, inevitably, even the Pacers start their offense with that ISO ball. It's just that he's a better passer than most stars when they start with that ISO ball. So even though it's the ISO ball, he usually gets a good
All right,
shot.
We all picking the Pacers to wrap this series up at some point. They're up 3-1.
Yeah, Pacers and OKC are going to be in the finals.
And just a
My opinion.
minute on OKC.
The better team is winning.
They're
If you just want
they're
a
the
minute,
best team.
Better team. They're better than Minnesota.
Minnesota does not have
and
enough.
Shea is a phenomenal player. And Jalen Williams is an emerging superstar. And Holmgren's playing great.
Yeah, can Shea crack a smile once in a while? It just
No. Okay, and this drives me crazy.
Uh-oh.
I like Brunson. He's got to stop flopping. It's to the point of like if every time he's dribbling the ball, his arms are flailing up in the air.
He'll
and
stop when they stop giving him the call.
What happened to the flop rule where they said, hey, if
know.
you flop, you're going to get a technical? I'm sorry, he flops.
Embellishing. He gets contact, which would be let go. But he goes, when the refs stop, he will stop. And the refs should stop.
They should, because he's just it's just out of control. Now, SGA does that a little bit too, but he's just a little better.
Ken, it's about winning. Until the refs stop it, these guys are going to do it.
Refs, listen to Jim. Please stop it, because Brunson's flopping in the last game against the Pacers was out of control.
I don't think it's on the refs. I think it's on the league.
Well,
Because
the league has
the league could
The
say
league
to,
needs to tell them.
the league
Yeah.
could say to the officials, okay, point of emphasis,
Exactly.
early in the year, tee guys up, eject guys. That's all it would take. And it
Right,
would stop.
exactly.
That's all
And,
it would
and
take.
Ken's right. At one time, they did do that.
Yeah, they started out
So
one.
you're both right.
Not
It's
this season,
it's
but
time to do it again.
last season they started out with that during
Yeah.
preseason and into
Yep.
the beginning of the.
Yep.
Then they totally dropped it,
Yep.
and they haven't called one in 2 seasons and a half.
Yeah.
So
All right.
how are we doing on time?
I just got one more thing, and then
Go.
we probably getting close to wrapping up. Little Patriots note:
Mm-hmm.
very early, not pressing the panic button. The OTA reviews of Drake May were very negative.
Not good.
Very negative.
Okay,
inaccurate throwing,
sorry.
problems hitting even open receivers. Christian Gonzalez picking off every one of his passes.
Pick up like 4 out of 10.
Fingers crossed that they've hitched their wagon to the right guy.
My closing thought, Ken, is a Zen question. Like I asked in
As in Phil
another
Jackson?
show. Just a Zen question.
Oh.
Does anyone win a game anymore, or do teams just lose? Now,
Teams just lose.
Teams, yeah.
we see this in youth sports.
They blew
Tara
it.
Sullivan has an article about youth sports in the Globe. I mean, you see it. Either our coach is awful, their coach is a genius, or the standard, the umps were awful. And now,
We blew it.
yeah,
We
but
blow
they
it.
usually, but they never blame it on the players. It's the coach.
Right.
And it seems like after these games, people are more interested, not us, in analyzing the losing team. I mean, you led with Halliburton, which was great because most people are leading with, what did the Knicks do? I mean, I'm glad you led with that. So that's my Zen question of the week.
Zen.
Yeah, why is it? I'll close on this. Why does Cam Neely and Sweeney still have the jobs they have, and why are they in charge of picking the next coach, which they're going to fire about a year and a half from now?
Are you speaking of the 2-year extension they just gave Don Sweeney?
Yes.
Okay.
And Neely. They've been... Okay, that's my final thought. I have no idea why they both are still employed. And the Bruins have gone downhill consistently.
Can you go
now,
downhill on ice?
Yeah.
I guess
well,
you
they
can.
can't skate to the left, according to Eddie Ammerman.
I still think they should play hockey this way
Yeah, that was
across.
another Eddie.
Right.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that's
they should
hilarious.
put, what did he say? Put pudding in the goal.
Yeah.
And that way, if the puck has any pudding on it, then you would know it was a goal.
Yeah.
So we'll close on an Eddie Endelman. All right, thanks for watching Sports Nuts. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Thank you for watching Boston Sports Nuts. You can find all of our episodes available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. For more information, go to westwoodmediacenter.tv or follow Boston Sports Nuts on Facebook, Instagram, and X.